Very all the best. Thank you very much. What a great crowd. What a great welcome. Harold, thank you for that very kind introduction. It is so great to see so many of you, so many supporters of Harold, of our party, so many people active in the community coming tonight to spend some time on a beautiful summer afternoon. Great to see some former members of Parliament as well, some of our provincial counterparts, and our current caucus colleagues as well. And John Nader brought a special guest with him tonight, his recent addition, 2.5 months old, brand new member of the Nader family. Big round of applause for John and his wife. They've got 2 more to go to catch up with me and Jill, so we'll talk later about sharing bouncy castles and car seats. That if you need any of those things, we got lots. It's always good to visit this part of Ontario. You know, last year I became leader of the Conservative Party in May of 2017, and Harold invited me out, and he wanted me to come and speak to the chamber and to see some of the small businesses in the region, some of the farm families that were going to be victims of the small business tax hike that the Liberals were bringing in. And I thought, Harold, absolutely, I will be there. There's so much going on in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. Our previous Conservative government supported everything from important investments into infrastructure to ensure that people had the ability to get around this region. We invested in post-secondary and innovation, and there was a lot of great success stories. And the small business tax hike was really hitting this community very hard. So it was great to come out and visit. And he said, you know, if there's any way you can come back again next year, I can put on a little barbecue with some of my friends for you. I said, sure, that'll be nice. A nice, intimate little relaxing evening. So here I am with about, 800 people in the Kitchener-Waterloo. Thank you all for making this event such a success. And we know that small businesses are an important part of not only this part of Ontario, but a big part of Canada. It's a huge part of the economy. It's a reason why so many people have jobs, have the ability to get a mortgage, to purchase a car, to put their kids in sport. It is the economic backbone of our country. And the Liberals like to talk a big game about small businesses. And they like to talk about how they're trying to find ways to help and enhance small businesses. But under the Liberals, it's clear that the best way to start a small business is to have a big business and wait a while and it becomes a small business. Last year, they had the audacity to tell all the entrepreneurs in Canada, all the risk takers, all those who had scrimped and saved and put money aside, that they were simply just cheating on their taxes, that they were using fancy accounting schemes to reduce their tax burden, ignoring all the opportunities that are created by those very same people. And I got very passionate about this. You know, one of the reasons why I wanted to get into politics in general was to be a voice for all those people who work hard to put something aside for their family, to have a better appreciation of what actually creates jobs in a community. And this was very important to me because I grew up in that type of family. My parents didn't have a lot. We had a comfortable life. We took some road trips for vacation. My parents had enough to put my sisters through dance classes and put me in baseball, and I played rugby a couple of years in high school, but didn't have a lot of extras. And I didn't have a trust fund to pay for my way through university. I had to earn it. I had to get a job. And it was one of those things when my parents said, look, you can stay at home throughout your university, and we won't charge you room and board. That was their gift to me. And I appreciate it. That was great. And I got a job waiting tables to pay my way through university. And that was where I learned an important conservative principle. You see, I learned that the harder I worked, the better off I was. And the better off my employer was as well. And that the better that he did, the better that restaurant did, the better I did too. In other words, I learned that prosperity was intertwined. And that is the true success of a free market economy. That people can succeed together. And most importantly, it destroyed the message from those in the NDP and the Liberals when they tell us that the only way to lift some people up is to tear other people down. That is what I learned at that very important time in my life. I also learned that it takes that type of risk to create opportunities for people like me. As someone who didn't have the means to do that myself, I got to share in that and have that opportunity, which led to me paying my tuition and going on to be able to get a job down the road. And when I moved out to Saskatchewan, I moved to Regina at a time when... fantastic. Do I have any Rider fans in the crowd? Hey! Thank you. There's always some in every... But you know, that speaks to something. You know, the reason why there's so many Rough Rider fans all around the country is because for years and years and years in Saskatchewan, we had an NDP government. And as a result, the #1 export for many of those decades was our young people. Because in order to find opportunities, people had to leave, mostly go to Alberta, many to Toronto and Vancouver as well. And that was the result of a high-spending, high-taxing socialist government that always put big government ahead of hard-working people. So I moved up to Saskatchewan, got a job at an insurance company, same thing. Husband and wife had sold the family farm about a decade before I got there. And by the time I arrived in Regina, they had a half a dozen or so brokers, some admin assistants, and I got a job there. And they paid for my training to get my education in the insurance business. And again, I learned that I was the prime beneficiary of their hard work and their entrepreneurship. And that reinforced that message, that no amount of government spending can make up for or replace the free market economy, hard-working entrepreneurs in this country, and all those willing to take a risk to create jobs in our cities and villages. That is the true source of prosperity in our country. And that's what this Liberal government doesn't understand. Through their unprecedented attack on small business, through their tax hikes on hard-working Canadians, we can see it time and time again. And what Conservatives have to do from now until the next election is to convince Canadians that our plan will work better. And our plan is centered around some key Conservative principles. Harold touched on a few of them, and I'll go on a little bit further. Living within our means. What does it mean? It means that we don't borrow money from future generations of Canadians just to spend on political projects today. That's not say we are going to balance the budget. We are saying that we will stop leaving credit card bills for the next generation of Canadians. It also means that we will work to lower the amount of money that goes to pay for the interest on the debt. That money that comes out of your paycheck, that comes out of your savings, goes to pay bondholders and bankers who have bought Canadian government debt. It doesn't go to build anything in our communities. It doesn't go to improve the quality of life for Canadians. That money is better off in the economy, and a Conservative government will get us back to balanced budgets so that we stop leaving that bill. Here, here. It means we don't believe that a way to tackle important issues is by introducing a new tax. And I am so thrilled to be in the province, home to the latest government that is joining the fight against the Liberal carbon tax. Hear, hear! Premier Doug Ford is leading the charge along with Premier Scott Moe of Saskatchewan, our two provinces, Saskatchewan and Ontario, fighting against the Liberal carbon tax. And you know, I grew up in Ontario. My mom's family is from Mississauga, and I grew up in Ottawa, so I always follow Ontario politics a little bit as well. And I was watching the last provincial election. And I got to tell you, if there was ever a lesson that the academics and many in the media just don't understand the issues, it was during the commentary on the carbon tax. I saw a story in a major publication in Ontario that was reporting on a poll that had been conducted that showed that about 70% of the people of Ontario opposed the carbon tax. And the article's main point, it was an opinion piece, the main point of this opinion piece was that the reason why the people of Ontario did not support the carbon tax was because they just didn't understand it. And the problem was that the Liberals hadn't quite explained it properly. If they were only able to wrap their head around it, they would eventually come on board and support it. Ladies and gentlemen, I know the reason why the people of Ontario oppose the carbon tax is not because they don't understand it, it's because they do understand it. It's just a cash grab that will do nothing to improve the environment. We see time and time again that the Liberals are on the wrong side of the issues with the Canadian people. The deficit, the carbon tax, the attack on small business. And they've even started an unprecedented attack on Canadian rights. The rights that we hold near and dear, the rights that have built this society into what it is, a welcoming and inclusive place where we welcome people from all over the world and invite them to share in the great blessings that have been bestowed on this country, and to be able to hold what's near and dear to them, and to pass on their faith and their views to their family as well. And when the Liberals imposed a values test on Canadian charities and individuals, they violated those fundamental Canadian rights. And a conservative government will always stand up for the freedom of opinion, the freedom of conscience, what you believe in. So we have this great message to spread throughout Canada, and it is working. You know, we've had a great session in the House of Commons. We've showed the government's inability to manage our country's finances. We've pointed out the hypocrisy when it comes to these types of issues that I just mentioned. We've highlighted the failures that this Prime Minister has had in terms of international relations. You know, he came to power talking about how he was going to put his new mark on Canadian foreign affairs, and he goes to places, and our relations with those countries are worse off than before he went there. So we've brought a light to a lot of these things, and it is resonating all over the country. We're beating the Liberals everywhere it matters. We're beating them in the battle, in the arena of ideas. We're winning the debates in the House of Commons. We're winning over more and more supporters to our party. You know, we've beaten the Liberals the last 2 quarters fundraising by a factor of 2 to 1. And I want to thank each and every one of you here tonight who has made that possible. Thank you for your support, for your local leaders. And we're not doing that because, you know, we have $1,500 plate dinners and swanky hotels and downtowns across the country. We're doing that because we're offering Canadians a strong, principled message on the issues that matter most to them, and they are responding on an individual basis. We've beaten them not only in terms of how much we've raised, but also by how many people are donating. And the reason why I'm talking about this, the reason why I think this is so important, is because we're going to have a challenge in the next election. I don't know if you've noticed, but we don't always get the same break in the media that the Liberals always get. So we're going to have to outwork them. We're going to have to out-communicate them. We're going to have more ads. We're going to have to reach them in different ways. We're doing a lot of that with social media. And so it's so important that that support continues. And I want to thank you again for all of that. But most importantly, we're beating them at the ballot box. When we articulate that strong conservative message, sticking to the values and principles that we know will make Canada a better place, we can win anywhere. And we just won a by-election in Quebec. All the pundits said we could never win. Our party hadn't won there since 1997. And by standing up for taxpayers, by fighting against the carbon tax, by fighting against big deficit spending that's going to leave our kids and grandkids with massive debt to pay off, by fighting for a principled foreign affairs policy, by fighting for accountability and integrity, we won that seat. And that just goes to show that we can take that message and win seats everywhere. And we're going to win these seats back in the Kitchener-Waterloo areas. We held these seats up until the last election. And we'll have an early indication of what kind of night we're having in 2019 by how these results in this area happen. So I'm asking all of you here tonight, if you've ever licked an envelope before, if you've ever pounded a lawn sign, if you've ever brought a friend to the polls to make sure they have a chance to vote, I need you to do that again. And I need you to do a little bit more in 2019 than maybe we had in 2015. We're going to need a bigger team. We're going to need a stronger and a bigger group of volunteers. But I know we can do it, because everything that over the last year has shown that if we all work hard together, we stick true to our fundamental principles, and we keep talking about how conservative policies will actually improve the quality of lives for Canadians, we can, all of us together, in every province of this country, in every riding from coast to coast, we can and we will make sure that Justin Trudeau is a one-term Prime Minister. Thanks very much, everyone.